Welcome back to CEEN the Caribbean News, and it's now time to go in depth. Guyana has been named the country with the highest suicide rate in the world. Statistics show that the South American country has 44.2 suicides per 100,000 people compared to the global average of 16 per 100,000. But this is not the first time Guyana is recording high levels of suicide. The country's suicide rates have consistently been at record highs since 2012. The latest publicized suicides from Guyana saw women leaping to their demise from the Kaisha Falls. What contributes to Guyana's high suicide rate, and how can it be effectively addressed? To discuss these, we have been joined by psychiatrist Dr. Michaela McCrae from the Woodlands Hospital in Georgetown, Guyana. Welcome to In-Depth, Dr. McCrae.
Hello, good evening.
Welcome. Now tell us, how seriously is the country taking this issue?
It is a very complicated issue because apparently, to begin with, everybody in the world seems to have more accurate records of what is going on here, except the ones who are directly involved with addressing this issue inside of Guyana. There is literally very little or no coordination in gathering records and doing research and establishing a policy or a pattern of approach to what the real problem is.
So is it that Guyana's statistics do not confer with what the World Health Organization is saying?
I think that in the past there was a problem of holding a false image, whereby the past government was definitely more interested into suppressing this information from the rest of the world rather than urgently addressing the needs of the population.
So how bad of an issue would you say suicide rates are in Guyana?
Well, it's difficult to say, and I will explain to you why. The records, the official records that the Ministry of Health currently has are those pertaining to the public hospital, but the majority of the people would not go there if they go to public institutions or private clinics of a variety of doctors, or don't even attempt to access any medical attention for their condition. It will be very easily understood why we do not have accurate records of what is truly going on. Because of a very archaic and detrimental law whereby persons who attempt suicide are going to be, if they survive, probably put in jail and charged a fee. When they go to private hospitals or private doctors, the real cause for his hospitalization is not going to be recorded under the label of attempted suicide.
Okay, so
it is easy to understand how this definitely changes, alters the entire information that we need to actually work with.
But the government has accepted that suicide levels are indeed a problem, because the president, Dr. David Granger, has announced a multi-sectoral approach to combat the problem. So it is identified as a problem irrespective of the data to match up with the WHO statistics.
Yes, he has done this, but they have been in control of the situation for a very short time to coordinate all this information and actually convince institutions to cooperate and freeze their records. It's not that easy. Actually, most of the institutions, even private institutions, do not have accurate records to go very far back. In the past, and I'm speaking like beyond 5 years, more or less records were destroyed. And yes, it seems unbelievable, atrocious, unconscionable, whatever you wish to name it. But for a variety of reasons, it was considered safer to destroy records rather than let them fall in whatever wrong hands. So now that we are computerized and trying to step into the 24th century with the rest of the world, and there are people in charge who are finally more interested into helping people without victimizing them, probably records are going to be reunited, researched, interpreted, and used for the benefit of the population.
So as Guyana proceeds with getting the documentation up to date, what would you say are the real reasons why Guyanese choose to take their own lives?
Well, for once, the association between mental illness and suicide, it's probably in the context of Guyana the wrong approach to address this. It's a stumbling block in the way of people who truly need help to even attempt to make themselves known to those who could actually help them. Beyond the fact that we are grossly understaffed, there are extremely few people who with real knowledge and understanding and willingness to help. Even among the professionals in charge of dealing with the situation, there is a stigma attached to those who consider this as a solution to their difficulties. Society in this country is not responsive, not supportive. There is a victimization, so to speak, a very judgmental approach towards people who consider this as an option. So many people rightfully say that they would rather die than go for help. At least in this, they still maintain their dignity.
So what is being done to change that view so people with real issues and suicidal thoughts come forward to seek help?
Well, education probably is the most important approach, and decriminalizing suicides would also go a long way. More humane, more compassionate individuals getting involved in this, establishing hotlines, establishing locations where people can actually go and relate to other individuals who have experienced similar situations and survived and received help and managed to claim their lives. This doesn't have to entail a lot of investment, a lot of financial resources. It starts with changing the way we see each other, going back to a time and a place where we used to have more kindness, more respect to those who dare to be different. It's basically getting help from individuals who can truly communicate with those in need. Of recent, doctors from Cuba and China and a few other places have been recruited to assist. They're trained and they're well-intentioned and care, or they would not come halfway around the world to assist. But there is the matter of language barrier and cultural differences where they cannot truly relate to the problems and the difficulties people here are encountering. A language barrier, especially in psychiatry, can make or break the deal, because sometimes it's not just about what the patient says. Many times it's even more about what they left unsaid. So we probably have to look for help towards other places, maybe places as is the Caribbean region, who have similarities in terms of cultural composition and background, and definitely people who speak English so that we can actually have more access to each other's thoughts and feelings.
Dr. McRae, how much of a social change would foster some amount of change as it relates to suicidal attempts? If there are better social avenues for Guyanese, how would that assist?
Well, we don't have social workers, we don't have psychologists, we don't have psychiatrists, we barely have counselors. That's another thing. Counselors come in many shapes and forms and purposes. Most times these individuals end up being counseled by their churches. The focus is on the guilty trip. How dare you consider this? Now, this is a very insensitive approach, just as there is the approach of some people at the main institution, like hospital, who pretty much feel that their position is to lecture and pontificate and judge.
Okay, Dr. McRae. I'm afraid we'll have to end it there, but the conversation will continue. Thank you very much for speaking with us, Dr. McRae. We were just joined by psychiatrist Dr. Michaela McRae discussing the factors and possible solutions to Guyana's high suicide rate.